Alright, let's turn our height fog back on again. Oh, where am I? I'm lost. We're in a forest, I think. There we go. So now we have to decide what we're going to do at the end of the pathway before we actually get to the building. And I am thinking another maybe raised terrace section similar to this, but just a different shape. Because we're going to come with our camera, we're going to fly through our gate. We will come along our path over the first straight terrace here. Until we get to the end of the actual pathway, which is just about here. And I'm thinking maybe another raised terrace section through here. Pardon me, until we actually get down into the building might look interesting. Because the Art Deco building here, again, this one, we haven't brought it in yet, is going to be sitting in the middle of our forested clearing before we actually take the camera inside the building. So that's going to be sitting around here once I just remove these trees. I've only got them there temporarily. I want to sort of angle the building so it's sitting in front of our small pond here. So I'm thinking maybe before we get to our building, having a raised terrace section through here might look interesting to better match the terrace we have going on back here. Just deciding on the shape I want to make that terrace. I don't want it to be too angular because we're working with an Art Deco building. When I created this terrace, I tried to make it look as deco-y as I could by using these black and white type tiles and angled end pieces, because Art Deco is more about simple geometry. That's the sort of design style of Art Deco. So I have to try and avoid going too ornate or anything like that for a deco inspired terrace. Again, anyone that was watching me, my last project on stream was that Baroque garden terrace, which was very ornate and had lots of statues and that type of thing. I don't want that look for this scene because deco is not like that. Deco is not about a lot of bling, for want of a better word. It's about simple geometric shapes and clean lines. So I can't do anything like the Baroque garden terrace. I have to keep it very simple, which is what this small terrace section is. It's just a very simple, plain design. Now I have come up with a shape. I also want to keep the actual textures the same as well, to keep the consistency between this terrace and the other one that we placed down the end. I have created a shape in Max. I just wasn't sure whether it would work, so we might bring it in and see if it will work or not. So let's just save our project here so we don't lose what we've done. Again, I turn autosave off in all of the programs I use because I don't like being interrupted while I'm working. And with autosave turned on, it tends to hitch the program while I'm working, or just freeze the program for a second or two, so I turn it off and everything. So let's jump into Max and open up the terrace I've created. I actually have some furniture I want to bring in as well. I wonder if we should do that. No, let's work on the terrace first, I think. Just getting to the furniture I'm going to be placing inside the level though. I'm using some Biedermeier style furniture, so just settees, a couch, a side table and some small corner tables which I'm going to be sitting some palm trees and chenelles on, monsterias. But let's look at the second terrace section I want to bring in. Well, I'm thinking of bringing in. I haven't looked. To be honest, guys, I haven't settled on the on the design of this yet. I'm just not sure about it. We'll bring it in the way it is and have a look and see if it works or not. Again, using the same textures for our smaller raised terrace section, just with a bit of a different shape to it. So we're going to attach it all together and we'll bring it in. We can use the same materials we use with the exception of the tiles on the top for the other garden terrace. So I'm just going to start attaching these pieces together. I don't want the urn, we've already got the urn inside the engine. I think that's everything. I'm just going to make sure by moving it. Yep, that's good. Now we do want to make sure our axis is in the middle of the object, so I'm just going to fix that. And I always like to do a reset X-form before I import into Unreal, just to be on the safe side. Okay, let's export it. Let's export it into that N Terrace subfolder and call it N Terrace. It's quite low poly, there's nothing too high poly about it. Just using some really dirty textures because I remember this is sitting outside, so it's going to get really dirty. Let's jump back into Unreal. We placed this in our terrain section, I think, to keep everything nice and organized. Let's import that. Under terrains. N Terrace, N Terrace. So what we're going to do is when it brings it in, it's going to set up new materials. We've already got our materials made when we imported this one, so we're going to reassign the materials that it's using, with the exception of the tiles on the top, because that's not being, we didn't use that here, so we'll have to fix that ourselves. So I'm just going to open up the model we just imported. And we're going to start replacing these materials with the ones we've already created. Okay, so we have this one, and this one, and this one, and I think it uses one more, which is the tiles on the top, and again, we didn't have those in the original terrace, so we're going to have to just make sure that that material is created correctly. So let's jump back again to our models, and that's going to be this one here. Just going to check what that is and where it is. At terrain in terrace tile base color. Okay. I'm going to open up Knald, K-N-A-L-D, to create a normal map and a occlusion map. Because, actually, I think I created that in Substance, so they may already be there. So let's have a look. I'm going to import, again, N Terrace tiles, okay. Just wasn't sure of the name. N Terrace, oh good, they are already there, so let's take in the metallic, the ambient occlusion, the direct, the normal map and the roughness map. And let's drag them into our shader. And get ourselves organized here. So we have our metallic And then we'll come to our normal. And then we'll go to our roughness and finish with our occlusion. So metallic. Normal. Roughness. And ambient occlusion. Save our shader. Okay, let's just jump back in and have a look at our model. Now, I'm going to place it in the level. I'm just looking at the dirt mark here on the top of the tile. And it's looking a little bit heavy. But we'll wait till we take it into the level here and we'll have a look at it. So let's jump to the end of our walkway and pull in that model. Again, it's really tiny. We're going to have to scale it up. I'm just going to rotate it around so it's facing the direction I want it. I think like that. Okay, let's scale it up. Let's check it from here. Again, you see that once we actually get it into the level, those dirt marks don't come up nearly as dark looking as they did in the when we were looking at it in the actual model itself. Now, I'm going to rotate it around so that the line here better follows our path. Now I'm just checking the size here. I can't really scale it up any higher, I don't think, because I don't want the steps to become too big. Again, I'm just going to turn off my exponential height fog just briefly while I check out step size. I think we could probably come up a little bit bigger. I'm just going to pull up high so I can look at it from a bit of a distance here. I'm just comparing our stairs there to our stairs here. I think that's not too bad. In fact, we could probably come up a little bit bigger. Okay. Now let's position it correctly. I still have not sold on whether I'm going to use it or not, but we'll see how we go. And I want to see how it fills in that gap we've got going here. Or how well it fills it in or not. That's not too bad. We can get some trees going on either side here to block it off a bit. And we come up to our pond, and the main reason that people would have put this here was so that they could look at the pond. And that was my main concern. I wanted to make sure it was big enough that it got close enough to the pond to make it look like it's meant to be there. and I haven't just stuck some arbitrary mesh in the middle of nowhere. Okay, and again, you see what I mean by the Deco design. It's really simple lines, geometric shapes. There's not a lot going on. Alright. And what I'm doing here is again just judging the height to make sure that the scaling is correct. That'll be good. Yep. We just have to make sure with things, when we start scaling objects like this, particularly things that have steps in them, you have to be really careful, because if you scale them too big, it makes the stairs look giant and it'll just look wrong. And the best way to judge that is to judge it by the objects next to it. So in this case, the flowers on the bush. I look at the size of those and compare it then to the size of the step to make sure that the steps don't look too small or too big. Alright. So what we're going to have to start doing now is, before we can actually do a rebuild on the lighting to make sure it blends in like this one does, is we're going to have to start adding some foliage, plants, trees, that type of thing to the outside of our new terrace. So before we do that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick break for a couple of minutes. I want to grab a fresh cup of coffee because mine has gone stone cold. I'll be back in just a couple of minutes. I'll leave you with my Be Right Back screen, and when we come back we'll start adding foliage to the outside sections around the outside of this terrace. So I will be right back in just a couple of minutes, guys. Okay, so we have our terrace in. We've got to actually add some plants to the outside sections around the outside here to try and block it off a bit more before we get to our main Art Deco building, which we're going to have sitting in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue this theme we're using through our entryway here of azalea bushes, these conifer trees. Let's start though by adding some of our urns, I think. So I'm going to grab our tree and our urn. We will duplicate it. And again, we haven't rebuilt our lighting, and so the color's not going to look correct like it is here until we do a rebuild on the lighting. Again, doing this sort of work, you're probably better off doing it in the top viewport in the orthographics than trying to do it here, but it's much more boring for you guys if I do it that way. I'll do it this way because it's more visually interesting. But you'll find it easier to do it in the top viewport than doing it like this. Again, we know that our height here is correct because our urn is actually sitting on the top of our column, the same as it is over here. Okay, let's duplicate it again. Right, we want another 2 down the opposite end to match it. And let's place another one over the other side. Now we have to decide if we want to completely encircle the terrace here with these flowering, with these potted trees. I think that would look interesting. So let's duplicate it a few more times. Let's just pull back and have a look to make sure that I'm happy with having it around the outside edge. Yeah, no, I think that makes a nice interesting feature of that. It's not circular, but that raised terrace section. So let's copy two more. And the last one. Okay, so now we have our potted urns here circling the outside of our terrace. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to just select a couple of the trees on top and just rotate them around a little bit so that they don't all look identical, like they're all facing in the same direction anyway. Okay, there we go. And again, that just helps to add visual interest and to help draw your eye to the actual terrace itself. So now we need to place some plants around the outside here to try, and what I'm going for here is I want to block, when we come up our path, I want to try and block these side bits off a bit so that we don't actually see the pond and most of the building until we actually get up on top of the terrace. So I think what we might start with is we'll start by painting in some grass, some normal short grass, lawn grass. So I'm just going to go through in my foliage painter here and make sure that everything is turned off that I don't want. I want backyard grass. Okay, that should be good. Let's paint our grass in. Bring it around the front. Again, we're going to paint grass all over our lower section here, but not until we get the actual building in. Alright. Now let's also paint in some of our flowering bushes here either side of the actual walkway, just to help to define the entrance of the walk there a bit better. So we'll turn off our grass and we'll go back to painting in a mixture of these 5 azalea bushes. Drop some on the other side as well. Maybe just a few through here. I may just put a bunch through here as well. Alright, so we have our azalea bushes now. I think we need to bring in some, we could bring in some chenille, which is that monstera looking tree we used at the very front. Let's turn off our azalea bushes. Go back to our chenille, which is this one. And might put some of them down in here, I think. I think I want a few bunches through here, just to help break it up a bit. Okay. Now we need to start putting some groupings of our conifers in. So let's jump out of foliage paint mode and start looking at some of the groupings we've got going on here for our trees, our conifer trees. So I'm going to grab a group, maybe this one, and this one. We'll duplicate it. Let's move it over. Now I think that group would look good on either side of the main walkway, so I'm going to pull it over here. Actually, we've got our chenilles there. I don't really want to cover them up, so I'm going to move these trees a bit further out. And again, to keep balance, we need to do the same thing for the opposite side, so let's duplicate them again. move them over. Now again, I've got to be sure I don't actually intersect the geometry like that, because that's going to look weird. Just got to pull them back far enough so they don't go through our mesh. Alright. Now I think we need a few groupings over here as well, maybe a few through here. So, we'll duplicate again. We'll duplicate again. I'm just going to rotate these around so they look a little bit different. We'll pull it forward and pull it in. Then we want to sort of try and match that a bit on the opposite side. So I'm going to grab do another duplicate of this bunch of 3. Take that over here. And let's just take one of these 3 instead of taking the entire group again. Maybe this shorter one here. And pull that one over here. But to keep it balanced again, because remember, you're always trying to keep everything balanced. We'll duplicate it one more time and pull it over to the opposite side. It actually needs to go back a little bit. Just going to pull out here and have a look at what we've done to make sure that make sure the scene is looking balanced. Let's deselect that so I can check it out better. And I think maybe we could do with one more of those conifers just in this little corner here. Deselect it so we can get a better overall look at it. Going to get down to about head height here. Alright, so I think all we need to do now is add just a few of these yellow flowering bushes here and there, just to fill in some of these gaps. So back into my foliage tool, make sure everything is deselected that I don't want. I do want the cattail. Alright. So let's just paint a few of these yellow flowering bushes in now to fill up some of the spots here, and the wrong one. That's not the one I want. I don't want the cattail, I want the snakeweed. The cattail is what we're using in our pond over there. It grows in like water, so we can't really use that here. Okay, let's jump to the other side here. Maybe just a few through here as well. Again, just to help to fill it up a bit. I've got to be careful with this stuff. I can go nuts. I really like this yellow bush and I tend to go a bit nuts with it. So I think that's probably okay. Let's just jump out of foliage painting mode. And again, we're just going to just move around the outside here and check it to make sure there are no gaps or anything that looks like it could do with a plant. I think we might be okay. We could put some more conifers up here on this bit of a hill, but I don't think it needs it. I'm just going to let the camera sit here for a minute because I want to check the wind movement to make sure everything looks like it's moving correctly. Alright, I think everything looks like it's moving okay. Nothing stands out that's moving really weirdly. Alright. So again, let's just go back to the beginning of our garden path here. Remember, the lighting is looking a little odd because I haven't rebuilt it. It needs to be rebuilt to get the lighting to look correct. That's why some of these yellow flowers are standing out way too much. So we come along our path. We get to our first terrace, raised terrace. Just wondering whether we need anything more in here. I won't decide that until I actually do a rebuild on the lighting because rebuilding the lighting, like I said, is going to knock a lot of the yellow out of this. So and I have a feeling it's just shadowed quite a bit. So we come along our path, we come down. We come to our second terrace. We'll have our Art Deco building in here. Okay, let's turn on our exponential height box so we can get a better idea of what's going on. Again, we'll jump back to the beginning of the pathway. I wanted to try and keep it open through here because I really like the fact that we can see all the way back to that back, those back hills. So I avoided putting any trees through here to block that that foggy background that we see there. Okay, that should work. I wasn't sure about the shape of that terrace section, but most of it's being hidden by a lot of the foliage now, so that's okay. I just wanted something that looked consistent between the smaller one that we have going on back there, raised terrace, and this terrace section.